Batman has been patrolling the streets of Gotham for 3 years. In the first 3 years of being Batman, Batman has learned one thing above all. There are heinous, horrible things happening in Gotham every night. Too many things, and he can't do anything about them. At least not all of them. Another fire is happening in Gotham. Children as young as 12 play in the subway tunnels under Gotham. Many literally die doing so. Wild dogs run the streets, killing cats and startling retirees. Throughout these next few adventures, we see just how overwhelming the state of Gotham is on Batman. Every time he looks for something, a new heinous act presents itself to him. He finds out about them, but he can't stop them all. He can't save people from themselves. And as the bat signal lights the sky, Batman walks into yet another homicide. Lieutenant James Gordon is waiting with Dr. Sarika, a new forensic pathologist who just opened a lab at Gotham U. With the increasingly strange and bizarre cases coming across the desk at GCPD, Gordon thought they could use some help in getting to the bottom of this case. This pincushion here used to be a Mr. Choi. However, this was done to him was done with the utmost intention of inflicting the most amount of pain and agony possible on them. His tongue and teeth were even removed so that he couldn't scream, just like the last two victims killed in such grotesque ways. Dr. Sarika is fascinated both with Batman and the precision, cleanness of the killer's work on the victim. Without saying it, Batman is just disgusted by Sarika's presence. His fascination with death and the suffering of the victim raises all of the red flags a first impression can give. Batman tells Gordon they need to talk outside. Batman tells Gordon he doesn't trust Sarika. His drooling over the body, the way his eyes dart around the room, all of it are clear signs of a lot of things, but most prominently, a substance abuse issue. But not just any substance, due to his behavior and his profession, Batman believes he's getting high on embalming fluid. While Gordon takes in what has just been said, he tells Batman they don't have a lot of options. The last coroner left when the Joker sent him a card and flowers addressed to his favorite collaborator. Sarika is weird, has his issues maybe, but he's all they have. And his family goes back to old Gotham. He has deep roots to life here in the city, even if he did leave his last position under unclear circumstances. Batman doesn't stay to chat. He uses his grappling gun to leave, telling Gordon there's 3 victims now. Enough evidence, enough of a pattern to give him a lead to finding this killer. High above the city, Batman looks down on a prestigious law firm, thinking to himself, serial killers usually know their first victim, making Oakley, the lawyer who was tortured at his desk a couple nights ago, the key to this case, the first victim. When the GCPD requested his private files from his law firm to investigate the case, they denied access, citing sensitive materials. Batman doesn't have time for that. People are being killed. As he puts his hand on the file, private security bursts through the door. A couple of rent-a-cops isn't an issue, but they keep coming. 1 or 2 becomes a private militia of security pouring in on Batman with guns. Batman's only thought is, who pays for this much security for a lawyer after they're already dead? He doesn't have time to think about it too much because the security guards are not messing around. They all start to shoot at Batman, who can only do so much in a tight space with only a cape to distract their aim. He ends up taking a few bullets before taking out yet another guard. As the rest take aim, Batman turns around and leaps out the window with bullets flying all around him. File in hand, Batman rests for a moment in an alley below, blood cascading from his wounds. Back in the cave with Alfred, Bruce is doing his best to stitch up his wounds. Alfred offers to take over for him, but Bruce says it hurts less if he does it himself. As they discuss the murdered lawyer whose office Bruce just acquired the files from, we find out that Oakley spent his last few months working pro bono cases. After making a substantial career working for major corporations like Ace, LexCorp subsidiaries, and even the Iceberg Lounge. Clearing his conscience on the one hand, perhaps, but all the men who have been murdered suffered from the same fate. All had lost families and were alone in the world before their lives were taken. There are a dozen more men in the files from the law office that fit similar criteria. The killer must be targeting all of them. Pattern of the last few victims after the lawyer indicates he must be going down the list alphabetically. Michael Gallo was a petty thief until one day he robbed the wrong house. Stumbling into the criminal web that is the Falcone family, Gallo found out how quickly that family handles slights against the family and their people. One day his wife was found floating in Gotham Bay. Ever since, he's laid low, working as a janitor, even refusing to take part in a class action lawsuit against the crime family. While he was at work, Batman bugged his apartment. He's perched outside waiting for his moment to catch the serial killer who's likely to target Michael next. Inside the apartment, Michael has built a shrine to his dead wife. He returns home and just sobs for an hour straight. Suddenly, a crackling, strained voice, like one in constant pain, reaches out from the shadows of the apartment. Every night you cry and the wounds never close. The gaping holes they leave behind. Michael is screaming, terrified and confused. The voice continues. I can give you what you want. I can give you what I could never have. What they took away from me. Gallo tries to get away from him. Batman is waiting, trying to hear everything he can to learn about who this killer is before he can't wait any longer. Crashing through the window in the middle of the apartment, Batman lays eyes on the serial killer for the first time as the killer asks him, Did that hurt? He repeats his question as he goes to strike Batman. It's clear whatever this man is, he's not a fighter. But Batman quickly realizes there isn't a place he could punch or kick or even grab this man without killing him. He's placed so many nails, screws, and pieces of rebar throughout his body, centimeters away from vital arteries and organs. Any wrong move or amount of pressure will kill him. His body has been made into a tapestry of self-harm, absolute mutilation. But that doesn't stop him from punching Batman. As Batman is trying to block the incoming strikes, he thinks there must be something he has in his belt, something to stop him. This man is surprisingly strong. Everything he is and is doing should be impossible. But before anything more can happen, Gallo fires a shotgun at the man. The shot goes everywhere but into anyone. The killer flees before Batman can see and hear properly again. Gallo asks Batman what that thing wanted with him. Batman plainly tells him it wanted to torture you to death. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce is searching for an old medical textbook of his father's. The killer reminded Bruce of something he had seen once. And once he finds the book, we find out exactly what he's dealing with. The medical precision, the exactness of the victims, and even the man's own body, with all the materials penetrating his body without killing him. He's the wound man. A real life example of an old diagram of all the ways the human body can feel pain, of all the ways it can suffer. This killer is the real life wound man. Batman brings his findings to Gordon that night. Gordon asks if this means he knows who the killer is. Batman says no, but he does know who he's going to strike next because of the list they acquired from the lawyer's office. Gordon wants to get everyone on the list into protective custody, but Batman warns him that they need to use what little they have to predict the actions of the Wound Man. Otherwise, they have nothing. Sarika is confident he can find clues to the Wound Man's identity. Batman again calls Sarika a fool with a formaldehyde addiction. Even if he was good, it would take too long to find out what he can find out. Gordon tells Batman that Ace Chemicals was footing the bill for the security Batman demolished the other night. Next on the Wound Man's list is Randall Jones. Oakley, our first victim, had represented him a few years back when he strangled a coworker at the office Christmas party. The woman who he tried to kill survived, but when Jones got out of Blackgate, his wife and daughters had left. Now he just tries to drown the pain and guilt at the bar around the corner from his apartment. As Batman waits for the Wound Man to strike, Batman recounts the latest horrors of Gotham happening all around him. A small list of the many things he can't do anything about. Another fire set ablaze by Gotham General Hospital. In Newton, or Newtown, someone has been taping razor blades under car door handles. In the Narrows, officers are celebrating the capture of the thief that's been stealing pets. He's been stitching wings to dogs in the hopes of creating the ultimate animal to survive the streets of Gotham. Meanwhile, the Wound Man scales Jones's building. High above the city streets, he climbs, opening the window to Randall's apartment, calling out to him, telling him it hurts, doesn't it? Every night, again, you cry and the wounds never heal. Let me feel it with you, he says. Batman appears behind him, holding him gingerly due to their last interaction. Batman tells the Wound Man that he knows what he thinks he's doing. He thinks he's a healer. He reassures the Wound Man he's not a healer, and he's not helping these men. Batman tells him he knows as well as he does that he could die if he hits him. Batman asks him not to make him hurt him, which absolutely triggers the man. He swings at Batman, begging Batman to please hurt him. Batman tries to get him to stop, hoping it wouldn't come to this. He reaches down to his belt as he remembers the intricacies of knockout toxins. He thinks it's never as easy as it looks in TV shows or comic books. It's a lot riskier, even deadly than most would assume. The dosage has to be exact based on lung capacity, body weight, and more. The risk of a seizure or heart failure is pretty high if it's not correct. And so as he uses it, the Wound Man falls and goes critical. Batman picks him up and tells him he's taking him to the hospital. Just as Randall gets to his front door, trying to unlock it with shaky hands, Batman bursts through with the Wound Man draped over his shoulder. Batman tells the Wound Man in the Batmobile that they are almost at the hospital, as he starts to ask him questions about Ace Chemicals. All the wound man can say is, "It still doesn't hurt." As Batman looks up in front of them, Gotham General Hospital is the fire. The fire isn't near the hospital is actually on fire. Without any real options and the wound man's life on the line, without definitive answers in the case, Batman takes him to his new, least favorite person. As Dr. Sarika is still working on finding the mysteries of the wound man on the last victim, Batman comes through the door with the wound man himself. Batman tells the doctor to save this man's life. He tells Batman he's in cardiac arrest and they need to massage his heart without the spikes piercing Batman if he can. Sarika gets a shot of adrenaline and injects the wounded wound man. Batman cuffs him to the medical table and tells the doctor to call Gordon and tell him what's happened here. He needs to be questioned as soon as he wakes up. Batman is going to find out who made the wound man and why. Batman visits the office of Nikki Harris, a tabloid writer who once worked for the Gotham Gazette. Batman is interested in information from the piece that got Nikki fired, an expose on Ace Chemicals. The pharmaceutical giants sent their lawyers to deal with Harris very quickly the minute that they found out about the piece. Harris asks Batman what exactly he's looking for. He only kept so many paper files. Batman says he's looking for information on their anesthetics or even their nerve agents. Harris hands him a file relating to cryoxin, a liquid ACHE inhibitor that was funded on a government contract. A contract that disappeared from all records without a trace a decade ago. This paper file is the only thing that speaks to its existence. Nobody knows what happened to the chemical itself beyond that. But Harris has a theory, asking Batman if he has heard of the town without screams. Meanwhile, our creepy doctor is alone with the wound man as he wakes up. Cuffed to the table, the wound man opens his eyes to find Sarika fascinated with him. Sarika asks the man, who he assumes is a doctor of some kind, or was at least, before doing this to himself and killing the others, of course. Sarika wants to understand the wound man. In an attempt to empathize with the man on the table, Sarika offers theories for why he has done what he has done to himself. Clearly, the man that has become the wound man lost the ability to feel. So, in an attempt to feel something, using every possible avenue of pain possible on the human body and his medical training, he put everything he could into himself to try and channel that pain, to try to feel something. As Sarika concludes, there's a reason why doctors make the worst patients. When medical professionals, when doctors are victims of suffering, they are people too. Objectivity and clinicalness and clinical training no longer soothes or comforts. Instinct takes over. Panic sets in, and impulsive attempts to solve the problems, to solve the symptoms that keep cropping up, becomes the only action, becomes the only obsession. They forget, just like everybody else, that to cure, they have to find the root cause of the issue. As Batman is on his way out of town, he calls Gordon. Sarika never called Gordon like Batman told him to. And Gordon is just now finding out about the wound man being apprehended, which at least gives Gordon something to talk about in the meeting he's about to walk into with the mayor. In the meeting, Gordon meets one Christopher Sionis, CEO and senior partner at Axis Corp. Back with Batman as he arrives at the town with no screams, he finds an eerie suburban utopia of sorts, the planned community of green fields, the tabloid titled Town Without Screams. The source of a few stories of strange occurrences, calls for help ignored and quietly forgotten. Back at Sarika's lab, masked men break into the lab and beat up the doctor while they take the wound man at gunpoint. As Batman searches in the town with no screams, we get a flashback to the wound man's first victim, the lawyer behind all of this. The lawyer behind and the source of the cease and desist, the gag orders, the intimidations. The lawyer contained what was done to the wound man and those around him. So the wound man tries to purge the pain from Oakley, the pain he must have from being so awful. Since, of course, the wound man can't purge the pain from himself anymore. The lawyer makes one more plead with the man, telling him there's an entire file cabinet there just next to them in the office of people who have suffered. It's not just them, it's not just him or the wound man, it's the human condition to suffer. And he begs him not to do what he's going to do to him. The wound man's first steps all started there in the office with this lawyer that night. Francis Oakley is the key to who and why the wound man is. Dr. Jessup Hartnell had been reaching out to everyone he could about what was going on. The city, law firms, other doctors, medical centers. Oakley blocked every attempt, every time, all on behalf of his corporate clients, of course. The people who poisoned Hartnell and created his condition also poisoned the entire town he lived in. They drove Hartnell to become this wound man killer. Batman discovers the truth behind everything. Decades ago, Ace Chemicals purchased land in upstate Gotham. They used it to dump all kinds of factory waste, chemical waste. The land then got sold to the Gotham City Council for pennies on the dollar. The city council decided to build a town on the new land as a sort of suburban paradise away from the mess of downtown Gotham. But the chemicals dumped weren't just chemicals. They were some of those nerve agents, the cryoxin that Harris tipped Batman about. All of that never went away. It seeped into the drinking water, the pools, it was in everything, poisoning everyone living there. And as Batman's on the phone with Gordon, telling him all of this, the connection drops out. But what's important comes through. The wound man has been taken. He knows it's Ace that did it. As Batman gathers everything he needs and tries to leave the haunting, poisoned town, a group is waiting at his car. They know who he is, and they're worried he is going to mess everything up for them, just like Hartnell tried to. One man is missing fingers, another's leg is all messed up from not healing correctly. Everyone in the town doesn't feel anything anymore. But from their perspective, they're blessed. They don't suffer anymore, they live in a beautiful place, and they don't feel sick or tired. If Batman exposes them, the company, the corporations, the government, whoever, they're gonna come take it all away. Maybe even experiment on them. But Batman is trying to tell them, trying to explain that they don't know what else this stuff is doing to their bodies inside. They need help. None of that goes over well. So they start to pile on, using their lack of feeling, their lack of natural fail-safes provided by pain informing the body of its limits. They attack Batman without restraint. Even without fighting knowledge or any kind of training, they break Batman down. Nothing he can do stops them, nor does Batman want to hurt them, after all. They can't even feel how much damage they're doing to him. They just keep going until Batman stops moving. Enough pain has been dealt that Batman blacks out for a moment. When he comes to, a woman named Alice is scolding the men who have just beat on Batman. She reminds them who they are. One of the men is actually a kindergarten teacher. She reminds them also of what happened to Hartnell after all of them refused to back up his allegations, even what happened to the doctor's wife. As Alice helps Batman up into his car, Batman tells her about what the wound man has done and asks her for what happened to Hartnell's wife. As Batman drives toward Gotham City, the wound man is barely awake, sitting in front of Christopher Sionis in an armchair. He starts to tell Hartnell he remembers who he is under all that, before all those spikes and nails, all the crazy accusations he was making, how much of a headache he was for the company. But he's made this next part all the easier for them by creating these wounds. All these spikes and nails, all adjacent to major arteries and organs, making one action the final action, if done right. As he takes a piece of rebar from his body, the wound man begins to bleed out. The wound man simply looks up and says, "Christopher Sionis, you are the root cause of the malady." As he breaks free of the rope snapping them, hiding in the shadows as Sionis' men try to find him as he warns them of the pain that's coming for them. Batman is back in Gotham and he arrives at the hospital to find Gordon there. Gordon tells Batman that they beat Sarika with a nightstick or a bat. They broke his arm in two places and gave him a bad concussion. Batman asks how this could have happened. Gordon tells him that it's the mayor. He's in bed with Sionis. After connecting the dots between the mayor's past misdeeds and mistakes with the land that resulted in the town without screams, and Sionis' involvement with the wound man, Gordon goes to call for backup, assuming that Batman's going to go after Sionis. But when he looks, Batman's already gone. As Batman traverses the city on his way to find Sionis and the wound man, he recounts more of the sins of Gotham. In Burnside, a couple reported a man using eyes on his hands to look in the window of their sixth-floor apartment. In Cherry Hill, gunshots are being reported, but there aren't enough GCPD resources to investigate. In the Narrows, a newborn baby is found in a dumpster, one of many babies to be found this year alone. As Batman arrives at Sionis' Cherry Hill home, he finds the aftermath of a bloody scene. Sionis' security men are on the floor. As Batman tries to tend to Hartnell, who's lost a lot of blood, Sionis walks up behind him. Sionis spins a story of what happened, how his security rescued him just in time, and as the wound man broke in and tried to kill him. He locked himself upstairs until he heard Batman. Batman doesn't take any of it, telling him that's not what happened at all. Sionis says, sure it is. Everyone will believe him. There's 5 people he's killed now, after all. Who doesn't want this guy put away? Batman asks him pointedly, did you know about his wife? Sionis says, who? He says her name was Amber. Hartnell was working late, reaching out to whoever he could, trying to get what was happening out to the world, trying to get help for the people of Green Fields. That night, Amber fell asleep in front of the TV. Though they couldn't feel the cold anymore, she had the fireplace blazing out of habit. And Amber escaped the grate and landed on the rug. She couldn't feel the heat just as much as she couldn't feel the cold anymore. She wouldn't have felt it as the flames reached her skin. She probably slept through the fat in her body beginning to melt, the cartilage in her bones making them crack. And then he came home, and he tried desperately to make himself feel something. Anything. That's what Ace did to him. What Sionis did to Dr. Hartnell. Sionis is quick to say there's no proof. Everyone will forget. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Terrible things happen in Gotham every day. Who cares? Batman raises one hand as he looks down at Sionis, rests it on his shoulder, and explains the anatomy of the human shoulder, a very complex body part, home of the brachial plexus, a network of nerves that connects the arm to the neck and spine. As Batman crushes it, sending Sionis into incredible, acutely fine-tuned pain. Batman calls Gordon for ambulances for the survivors and 2 assailants who were killed. As Batman walks out of the building, he recounts the latest fire in Gotham. This one, he knows exactly where it is. It burns in the shoulder of Christopher Sionis, and it will continue to burn for the rest of his pompous, entitled life, hopefully reminding him of what he's done every single day. And this is the end of part 1 of Batman Dark Patterns, the We Are the Wounded arc. A tremendous look at some of Batman's hardest first cases. Cases where Batman isn't able to save everyone and has to wrestle with the mission he's taken on to save Gotham. If you like this, the second and third parts of Batman Dark Pattern videos are coming soon. Drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss those, and a lot more that's coming.